Hello, everybody. I'm Dagmar Bryant, and I am here with Deanna Frey, and she is from Blue Skies Journey. And we're here to have a discussion about quantum healing hypnosis and past life regression and how these wonderful modalities can help our clients. And that's you. If you're tuning into this, let's have a discussion about how these things can help you to break free of old patterns, to get rid of those thought patterns that can be holding you back. Deanna, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe talk a little bit about what you do?
Sure. We'll just give you a kind of, hopefully, a Cliff Notes version. For those who don't know me, I am a scientist by background. I am a chemist by training and spent a lot of years working in the science field and have come to this kind of space a little late, but it was on my personal journey. And so, as part of that, I learned a lot of things and um, just wanted to share with other people. And one of the things specifically, so I do a variety of different services. I started with energy healing, and that may be familiar to so many people. We're starting with Reiki, and then I started working with angels. It was something that totally took me by surprise. It was not something I thought, oh, good, here comes, yes. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And so I start that work there. And then all this, I got into quantum healing hypnosis and past life regression. And I adore all the things I do, but those particular services um, really seem to help people on such a variety of levels. And I was so excited about them, especially QHHT or Beyond Quantum Healing. Those are the quantum healing hypnosis modalities I'm working with because they do past life regression, and we already mentioned it, Dagmar. But they also have a healing portion where we can do all kinds of healing. And then a part where you get to ask your higher self questions, right?
Yeah.
Get that guidance from the being that knows you the best, right? And so when you put all of that together, that's the coolest. That's the quantum healing hypnosis. But past life regression is awesome in a similar way because it's kind of like a slice of that. As you were saying, if you've got patterns of thought or some issue that you really have had an issue with your whole life, and it's like, I don't understand what on earth this is. It could be with a person. It could be, let's say it's claustrophobia. Let's say it's a particular habit, like I always am afraid I'm going to lose something, or I have a problem with this person and I don't understand why. There's no reason, right? Sometimes going in and finding out, hey, is there some connection that didn't get worked out last time that you brought in here? And then the healing from that. So that's kind of the idea.
Yeah. It's very powerful. And I remember
Yeah.
having you on the Angelic Footprints podcast. And one of the things that we talked about was having that very logical background. So yours is the
Yeah.
science background, mine is the legal background. And then we've both come together into this space
Hmm.
where we have that commonality of that spiritual aspect that we're now working on. And I love that you started with Reiki. I started with Reiki on early in the piece. I started with tarot, but I also did hypnosis and then also went into obviously angels and then past life regression as well. So I understand everything that you're speaking about in terms of how we help with our clients. And I think one of the important things that our clients, that's potentially you out there who are listening or watching this particular show, that it is about you.
Hmm.
What is it that could be holding you back? And so often we just don't even know. And that's
Hmm.
where that healing or the hypnosis or the past life regression comes in. And I love what you said about connecting in with your higher self because our conscious mind can put up so many blocks.
Oh, yes, all the time, all the time. And
Yes.
you know what I really love, I just wanted to say this quick before we move on because I think it's really important. The background that I bring, the background that you bring are exactly the kind of backgrounds that needs to walk into the spiritual space right now, right? We've the folks that have been spiritual in that spiritual space for so long have been incredible and they set the footsteps and they got people thinking. But there's a whole swath of the world
Yep.
that is more logical. There's not quite sure about this yet. And they need the folks that are like you and I who walk down that very logical thing and say, you know what, guys, there is something here. It really does work, right? And we've walked the walk and talked the talk, right? We've done it. And so I think having our kind of backgrounds right now is so important for people.
I think it bridges that gap, doesn't it?
Yes,
Because it helps
absolutely.
people understand, hey, we weren't
Absolutely.
always completely right brain. There was a part of us that was left brain as well. So again, if you're listening to this thinking, oh, I don't know if I can really connect with this, well, you're
Mhm.
talking here to two people. You've got two people here who have come from that background of completely logical going the other way. So we totally grasp both
Yeah.
concepts. Deanna, would you like to share with everybody maybe some significant shifts that you have seen with your clients through the work that you do?
Sure. It's one of these interesting things when somebody says, what kind of things happen in these kind of sessions. And I think if I had to categorize it at the highest level, I would say a change in perspective. Now, we'll talk about physical healing. That's one thing. But a lot of times we come in with things that are going on with our life that we don't like. Maybe the direction isn't the way we had wanted it. Whatever it is, our work, whatever those things are, right? And we come in with this thing of like, things aren't right. I want it to be different, all these things. And I find so often people will come in and their higher self will come along and go, guess what? All those things you said you wanted, here you go. Here's a lifetime where you had that. And you got all the way to the end of the life and you went, I don't ever want to do that again. Right. Or I did all of that and this was the thing I missed the most. Right. Oh no, I missed this one thing and I have to do that again at this time. And then as you look at that and bring it into this life, it goes, oh, that's why I made those choices. So if you think about something along the lines of somebody's like, well, why did I go this way instead of that way? It's kind of like, well, you decide that lifetime was a good lifetime for you, but you always wanted to have children. And in that lifetime, you didn't, and you felt it as an ache. It was something was so important to you. And so when you came into this lifetime, that's why you went in this direction instead of that direction, because you really wanted that. Other things I've seen is literally physical healing. Um, and I've mentioned this one before. I had someone walk in with sciatica and was in a really bad shape when they walked in, walked out fine, hasn't had a problem since. Now, that was something that they had had for years, been on medication, done all the things. By the time they got to me, it was kind of like, okay, this is a last resort. Like, I've tried everything else, can't hurt, let me try it. So you've got physical healing, things like that. I will say that a lot of things, and you mentioned this already about our conscious mind getting in the way. A lot of times people get the answers to things, some really interesting questions about, I don't understand what happened when I was 10. What was this? Right. And
Mm.
find out some things. But also, a lot of times they'll ask questions and they'll get answers. And some of the times they'll be like, I already knew the answer to that. And the point is, yes, you did. You're already connected, but you're not trusting yourself. Right. And so again, there's that change in perspective. It's like, oh, so I am more connected than I think I am. Yeah. So we've got some physical healing. Like I had somebody who had asthma when they walked into the office. They were having an attack. And I thought, oh dear, it was a coughing kind. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm even going to be able to put them down because they're coughing. And they had a past life. And the past life was they got killed in their
Yeah.
chest. Right. And as soon as we got to that part and let it go, guess what? No more asthma. The whole rest of the thing was gone.
Gone.
Mhm.
I think that's so interesting, and I've had that with clients as well. And I'm sure that you've had this as well. That there have been clients, albeit few, that it hasn't quite worked for. And I can still tell you one situation, quite a long time ago now, where I had a lady come to me. She had tried everything, and she came to me for hypnosis to stop smoking. And
Mm.
I asked her all the questions, as you do, why do you want to stop smoking and go all
Mhm.
through it and everything like that. All the pre-questions. I put her under, and then we do the finger test, yes for the yes and the no. And there came a point in the question. where in the hypnosis where I said to her, "Are you ready to become a non-smoking, healthy
Mhm.
person?" All that, and the no finger came up, and
Ah.
like I said, I did all of the pre-checks, asked all the questions, and the no finger, and I've never seen this before. Oh, I'm going to have to ask this again. So I did a reframe and asked her the question again in a different way, and again the no finger came
Ah.
up, and that for me was the point where I had to say, "Look, I'm." Gradually, just very slowly, very gently brought her out, asked her,
Mhm.
why, what happened? Did she know what happened? And I said, well, we discussed everything beforehand, and yet, this has come up. Why is it that you don't want to give up smoking? And she said, because I love it.
Ah.
Now, mind you, she had some significant health issues. The poor lady was about to go into hospital to have
Ah.
a toe amputated because of
Mhm.
smoking related conditions. She
Mhm.
had emphysema. She had all sorts of problems associated with the smoking, yet her subconscious mind still said, I don't want to give it up.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
still want to keep smoking. So that's pretty intense. Would you say that you've had a situation where there's been a client that you couldn't help for whatever reason, their subconscious mind blocked you
Yes.
or they
There
didn't want to do the work?
so I've had a couple. Fortunately, I haven't had a lot. I've done hundreds of sessions now, and probably somewhere around between 10 and 20 of those hundreds are ones that I absolutely couldn't do. There's usually one standing kind of thing that gets in there, and it's really their conscious mind coming in and protecting them.
Mm,
Right? And so it can be, and it's you what it usually means is that, um, let me back up. I tell people that if they're coming to me, their higher self has kind of given them a nudge.
yeah,
So their higher self is saying, you can get help here. Right? So it wouldn't bring them to me if it didn't think it could help, and it's never going to do anything that's going to hurt them in any way. So they do come, but there is a part of them, that conscious mind of ours, especially anybody who's had significant trauma in their backgrounds, even if it's not related to what we're doing, the issue that they're trying to address per se, right? There's that part of them that is very cautious and has a problem letting go enough, right? And so I can see them fully relaxed. I know that they're there, but every time they're starting to get something, it gets cut. And it's because their conscious mind is doing that. Now, I've had I there are times like they literally can't go any farther, and that's the way it is. But most of the time, if I ever come across some of those things, what I find is that because the quantum healing hypnosis, for instance, is past life regression plus a bunch of other things,
mm,
I'm working on getting them down. It's kind of a lot like a guided meditation. And so I do that for a while and work with them, and I can see they're fully relaxed. But if their conscious mind will not allow them to see anything, then what we do is we just go, okay, that's fine. Maybe it's afraid of what you might see. That's fine. Let's go to the other things. Let's go to your questions and the healing. And so, even though the past life part might not even be a past life, it may be some unusual. I've had some very interesting things that people have seen. Or we just literally go to a meditation where we go and then we do healing and bring in their higher self for healing and answer the questions. So it's not the traditional sense, right? We may have been blocked from the past life part because of what the conscious mind was afraid for them to see, but we could still get healing from it. And I've had people say, I was really disappointed that I didn't get that past life. And
yeah,
yet what we did has changed my world, and I wouldn't trade it for I mean, it's all of a sudden I can do all these things and I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't have traded it.
yeah.
So,
And that's the thing I think with past lives, we don't know
mhm,
what kind of trauma they might have experienced in a past life that they don't want to remember. There's a reason why when we come through the birth canal, all of the memories just get wiped of everything. And maybe the memory part of our brain, because remember, we only use that tiny, tiny portion of our brain. So it's all locked in there somewhere. There's a part of it, as you say, that is protecting us.
Mhm.
from that potential hurt. And as you say, it does work for most people, and when they do come, they are ready. They are really ready to embrace it. They're really ready to work on it, and when they do, it just boom, it's just like
Mhm.
that lightning moment, and people get so much transformation from it. So I totally agree with everything that you've said. What would you say to people if they're kind of like on the tipping point?
Mhm.
What if there's something that you could say to sway them one way or another? And I'm not saying that we necessarily should say, "Oh, come and do it because it's right."
Mhm.
If they're on the tipping point, what would you say? How would you guide them to say, "Well, trust yourself"? Oh, I think I just answered the question for you.
Certainly, that's part of it. And part of it goes back to what I already said in that if they're even remotely interested, if they're even here listening to us today, there is some part of their higher self that's saying, "You might wanna check this out. Go listen to this." So that's the first thing. If something catches your eye or attention for some reason, it can be anything, but today we're talking about this, right? If something catches your attention, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
So that's number 1. The second part I think is really interesting for people to know, and I always tell everyone this, is like when you're working in this space, working with your higher self's never going to give you or show you anything you can't handle because it's all about you. It's never going to give you anything you're not ready for, right? So I can so there's no reason not to try it if there's some issues that you would like. Some could just be curiosity, right? It's like, why am I always drawn to England in the 1800s? I don't know. Let's go see, right? Or and then any healing. Healing doesn't have to be, oh, I have this physical issue. It can be mental or emotional, right? It can just be checking your energy and making sure it's okay. And I can't tell you the amazing. It's interesting. I even have very interesting beings come through. I've had people's loved ones come through to talk to them. Again, only if they are receptive. Nothing ever happens that you are not receptive to. So if you're thinking that this might be interesting to try, I know for me, I have a consultation. You can call me and we can have a consultation, and just you can ask any questions you might have. But I think for most people, what's about it is it's really about discovering who you are. That's at the core of like, even if I don't think I have any particular issues, but do you want to know who you are at a soul level? Right? Do you want to know that? I'm always curious. That's the scientist. I'm curious. I want to know. Right? So I think if that's something I would encourage, it's like, if that's something you want to find out about things, this is a great way to do it.
I love how you framed that. You talked about, well, what does your soul want you to know? And I think that's where I'm not doing the past life regression anymore. I'm not doing the hypnosis anymore. Not for any particular reason. It's just that I've moved in a slightly
Mhm.
different direction.
Sure.
Obviously, I'm doing the podcast, the Angelic Footprints podcast, and I'm working with the angelic realm. But I think the important thing here to remember is that it is about what's right for your soul.
Mhm.
Your soul is guiding you in a particular direction pretty much every time. But
Mhm.
there are times when we're on high alert, right? We're on higher alert than other times. So again, if you're listening to any of this and it's resonating with you in some way, whether you contact Deanna, my apologies, or me for, angelic guidance, there is a part of your soul that is basically saying, I'm looking for answers.
Mhm.
And maybe it's here. Maybe there's something there that I need to help me in my next steps. And remember, that is so, so powerful. Now, I remember that I can tell you, I had a past life regression many, many years ago. I had a few actually. I think I had a total of 3, but in one of my sessions, the first thing I got, and I get goosebumps as I say this, the first thing I got was the most magnificent light that came in, and I
Mhm.
knew it was Archangel Michael standing right beside me. And my
Mhm.
goosebumps, if you could see this right now, they are just going crazy because it was like he wanted me to know I am
Mhm.
right beside you, and
Yep.
this is part of your journey. So you're going to get whatever it is that you need ultimately. And I think
Mhm.
that's the main message of how to take yourself forward. Deanna, is there any advice that you would like to give to any viewers or listeners on this collaboration between us?
Yeah, I think, uh, it's something that came actually in a consultation from the other day, that I did with a potential client, and I think it works perfectly here, and I already alluded to it a little bit here. If you're watching this, if you were brought here to listen to the 2 of us speak, right? There's a reason for it. Pay attention because you're being brought to someone specific. There are other people that do the things that we do on some level, but there is something unique about us that your higher self says, this is the person. This is the person that can help you. You may not realize it right away. Maybe there's something about the way we spoke about something that suddenly kind of made you relate to it. But trust what you're getting. Trust that where you're being led, right? If you were listening here and you've stayed and you've listened to us, there's something there, right? It's kind of like your higher self's going, these people can help you and show you something,
Yeah.
right? So let
Yeah.
them, right? So at least investigate, right? Trust it. There's a reason that you're here. There's a reason why you're watching this, and trust that these people, these 2 beautiful women can help you, right? And their energy is just what you need.
Mm. And I think that is such a great point. And you touched on this earlier too. You talked about investigate, have a conversation,
Yeah.
right? There'll be something else that comes up in the conversation that you
Yep.
can connect to. And remember, there'll be something in our background that we can relate to
Mhm.
you,
Oh, absolutely.
right? There'll be an experience, a
Mhm.
challenge that we've had that you'll
Mhm.
be able to go, oh my goodness, she knows.
That's exactly what happened earlier this week. The person literally said, because they're calling from elsewhere in the country, and they said, "Now I know why I was drawn to you. Now I know why it has to be you." And it
Yeah.
was just because we were talking about the issue that they were going through, etcetera.
Well, Deanna, I think this is a perfect opportunity. I mean, it's too good to waste. Is there something that you would like to share with our viewers and listeners about your story, about some of the challenges that you've overcome, so that people can get to know a little bit more about you to see, okay, I can really connect with this person?
There are a lot of things. So, um, certainly, while my childhood was good, there were some not so great parts of it. There were some different, levels of, forms of abuse there or etcetera. So, I can relate on some level when I have a lot of people who have had something like that, I can relate to that. Um, at one point in my life, I was raped, when I was in college, so that's a pretty big, and so again, I understand that. Um, I was married I was married to, a paranoid schizophrenic, and so I worked all in that mental health space, and understand what it's like, one, to be with what they feel like, but more importantly, I think from this perspective, is what it's like to be a caregiver or have somebody in your family that's like that, or even just the challenges of all those things. And then if you look at kind of I almost wanna say it, easier things, um, I came from a very small town. I'm a very rural, small town girl. I had to put myself through college, which I did, but I also chose science of all things at a time when women that wasn't science things, right? And I've spent a good bit of my career being the only woman, right? Being like, being in a room of people and it's like there's 20 guys and you, right? And it doesn't necessarily sound like, but it helps. How do I navigate this, right? And I've been in the corporate world. I understand how to deal with all the life, the struggles that come with all of those things. I've been in mixed families. I've been, I'm very called to animals and things like that. So I always very much love working with animals, especially with energy. So I have this really broad background of experiences that many of which I've had personally. Most, and they're not as bad as some of the things that people, as difficult as some of the things people come to me with. But on some level, I understand it. And so that energy of being able for me to understand makes a huge difference and allows them to be able to relax and feel comfortable and allow their higher self to really, the higher self's doing the work. I'm not. All I'm doing is, I tell people I'm the trail guide, right? It's like the higher self's like, here's the map. This is where we're going. And I'm in front of them on the trail going, well, don't step there. Here's the trail over here. We're going over here. Yep, they're right ahead. There's a higher self, kind of thing. So that's what I tell people. And so in order for them to feel comfortable enough to do that, they have to feel comfortable in me. And so
Mm.
being able to relate to me on those levels, I think really helps.
Yeah. I love that. I can't say I've experienced all of those things. I mean, for me, it was moving countries when I was very little from Germany
Yeah.
to Australia. And I was in that position where I think I was in denial. My parents tried to teach me English and I did not know a word of English when I came to Australia, and I actually had to have a teacher's aide to help me with learning the language for the first 3
Mhm.
months, which look, apparently I did, but I'm very familiar with the bullying aspect
Oh,
because
yes.
Australia back then was very much the white Australia. So not
Mhm.
only was I German, I wore glasses and I was the little round kid. So, I
Mhm.
got all sorts of things. And I still remember being, goodness, very upset one day when I was very little, came running in the door and I'm crying and mum, who's Hitler? Like,
Oh. Mm.
you know, I won't say how old I was, but kids my age shouldn't have known who Hitler was because
Mhm.
you're talking more than 40 years after the end of World War II. And obviously, it's not the kids' fault, but they've obviously come home, told their parents, oh, we've got a German girl who started. And they've said, oh, yeah, okay, and Hitler. And they've made the association. So, very aware of bullying. But I
Mhm.
think one of the other things too is also just being aware of always that saying about being, a square peg in a round
Mhm.
hole
Mhm.
comes to mind. Always feeling different, always feeling like I don't quite fit in. And I think that's one of those things where you always feel a little bit on the outer. You're never one of
Mhm.
the cool kids, but for me, it was always knowing stuff, like being very intuitive. I didn't know what the word psychic was, but that was me, always knowing stuff and people saying, how do you know things, right? And it's
Mhm.
always feeling different. And then you go through life, you go into the corporate world. I studied law when I was in my 30s. So quite late because of the circumstances, and I could be here forever telling you about that. I don't want to. But I was also divorced, not once, but twice. And that taught me a lot about the decisions I made in terms of who I have become. Because
Mhm.
even though I think about, okay, they weren't good decisions, you make those, you don't realize until that good old 2020 hindsight, it's made me who I am today,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And I
Mhm.
think everybody, regardless of the challenges that you've had, you're here today because you're on the other side of those
Mhm.
challenges. And for whatever reason, those challenges have taught you something. So, whether it is about having trauma and you've identified some, or being different, or having certain situations in your life, they've made you who you
Exactly.
are.
Yep.
So in some way, we should be saying, thank you. Thank you for those horrible situations because they've made us
Yeah.
stronger.
I think it's part, at least for me, I think it's part of that. It was part of my growth, right? Along the way of coming out, exactly like you're saying, coming out the other side and saying, okay, who am I right now? I feel pretty good about who I am. I like who I am. I like the person I've become. And when I sat down and go, if you like the person you've become, in order to be this person, you had to go through those things. You
Yeah.
wouldn't be the complete person that you are now if you hadn't been through those things. And interestingly, I think now, especially in the work I do now, I understand so much more why I have been and done all the things I've done, right? All of a sudden it's like, "Oh, now I can relate to this. Who would have thought that this would help me relate to this person?" Right?
Yeah.
Or, I've done so much travel, which I've been so fortunate. I never in a million years, when you look at the little child in the small town, would have been able to travel the world as much as I have. And and I've also had the thing about, I remember being kind of when you spoke to this about when you moved as a child, it struck me in this moment when I was there. I was in China, and I'm only 5'4", so I'm not particularly tall. But I was in a busy city in China, and I was with, 2 Chinese women who were helping me and translating, and we were doing stuff. We were having a great time. And they were escorting me to go do things and things like that. And it was kind of like a rush hour, and we were walking down the sidewalk, and at 5'4", even I could actually see, because normally I can't see anybody. There's too many, the people are all above me and I can't see anything. But I could look down that sidewalk, and as I was looking around, I was so excited looking at everything. I realized that I was the only white person on that entire road of, like, hundreds of people. Now, and up to that point, it didn't pay any attention to it, I didn't think anything of it, except I was getting some unusual looks, right? And I was just like, "Oh," and I'm smiling, happy. Well, somebody looks at me, and I'm smiling back, and they're kinda like, and I'm like, "What on earth?" And then I realized and looked around me, and I was like, "Wait a minute, hold on to this moment." Because now you understand what it feels like for other ethnicities to be in America or to experience all these other things, to be that moment. You weren't doing anything. You didn't even realize that because you didn't see it that way. You were, but other people did, and understand what it was like in that moment of, I'm happy. Yeah, hi, I'm not going to hurt you. And yet people would draw back just because I was different. And, like, you've got to take that feeling, and now you understand what it's like to be any minority of any kind, whatever it may be. It can be a woman in a room of men. It can be it can be a different race, a different color, different country, whatever it is. Um, it's interesting. It's like that really struck me as an experience that, take that home. Remember, all of a sudden it was like, oh, that's what it feels like to be different, right? To stay and, like, all of a sudden be brought home of, like, I'm not the same. And what does that mean? How do people react to me? All those things. It was a very important moment for me. And one of those things I wish in some respects a lot of people could experience, because once you have, it opens you up a little bit more, right?
That is such a nice way of putting it, and it's another point of commonality between us, the amount of travel that we've done. And a lot of my travel, I did get to do with my current husband, and we have
Yeah,
traveled
me too.
so many places
Yep.
in the last 10, 15 years, and it's been absolutely amazing. And travel really does broaden the mind. And not only that, I've now lived not only in, well, Germany for my first, few years of my life, but then um, Australia, the USA, and now the UK. And that gives us also such a unique perspective because we have an understanding of what diversity actually really
Yes.
means, right? People talk about diversity and equality and all that kind of stuff, and they give it a lot of lip service until you
Mhm.
have really traveled and got to experience what that means. Then it's very hard for someone who's never done that to be able to relate to that, or at least that's
Yep.
my opinion.
Yep. And the core commonality, though, there's the diversity, which is just wonderful.
Mm,
And yet it all boils down to, no matter where I've been in the world, everybody at their core wants the same things. They do it differently because of where they're at and how they do it, and that's fine. But at their base, we're all the same.
yeah,
We
100%.
just do things differently because of where we are and what's available and those kind of things.
Yeah, I agree 100%. At the core, we all love our family, we love our
Yep.
children,
Yep.
we want to do well in life. We want to have the simple things, good health, a little bit of money, and a good retirement, all of those kind of things. At the core, we are very much the same. I
Mhm.
agree
Yep.
100%. I think there's one thing that popped into my mind that I wanted to touch on, a topic that we haven't touched on yet. Both of our work, because it's got the spiritual aspect, with past life regression, we're assuming that, and I would say you and I know that there is something beyond this lifetime.
Mhm.
With me, also with working with the angels and working with the spiritual realm, you've touched on that yourself. Sometimes you bring through loved ones who've passed over. As a psychic medium, I've done that too. So again, we've got those points of commonality. And my question is,
Mhm.
what would you say to a true skeptic who thinks to themselves, where it's one and done, right? There's nothing else after this lifetime. I know it's a very philosophical question, but
It's yeah.
from the work we've done, what would you say? What would your response be to someone who has that kind of a philosophy?
So, there's 2 things that come to mind. One is a very practical answer is is my husband, who was definitely in that camp. And I just went off and did my thing, and he went off and did his thing, and then he watched all the changes that were happening in my life, and the changes that happened in our life because of what happened. And interesting and I never kinda tried to influence him, I just did my thing, and he just saw it. And so for him, that was experience, right? It was kind of like, okay, I know her and I know that couldn't have just happened, whatever just happened. So something's to that. So there's that part. But a lot of people say, well, how as a scientist, for heaven's sakes, how as a scientist can you even believe in any of this stuff, right? You're a scientist, right? And there are 2 things with that. One, everything if I was a scientist, everything is energy, right? So if everything is energy, I mean, that's what we believe, right? And
Yes.
we know that, a piece of wood is the same energy as my skin, as the
Mhm.
same as energy like air. So if everything's energy, then why couldn't we do these things? Manipulate them, move them around, whatever. And so for me, what I ended up doing, because of course I'm going to be a skeptic. I started out that way, and I'm a scientist, so I'm going to like, well, let me see, let me experiment, let me see about this. I'm not sure, right? And so to the skeptic, I would say, which is what I said to myself, is what if this were true? What if it were true? Right? We don't know that it is true. I can't prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt most times. I mean, just off in a quick snap that it's true. But what if it is? How would that change things? And if I do this thing and it's not true, what happens? Nothing. If I say, oh, I believe in, like it could be that my loved one comes through and that no, they couldn't possibly happen. Okay, if I believe it could happen, what happens with that belief? Does it hurt anybody? No. And what if it's true? What if it's true? And so many people, a lot of skeptics will get information that even in a quantum healing hypnosis, for instance, their higher self may bring forward something. And afterwards they'll go, I haven't thought about that in a gazillion years. Well, we certainly didn't talk about it. So I didn't do it. Right. So yeah, I would say so the biggest things I think are just allow yourself to say, what if, what if it were true? How would that change? And if it's not true, would it affect anything? No. You're still going to be exactly the same as you are right now.
Mm. What if is such a powerful question. And I definitely agree with you on that as well. And you also mentioned the word faith. When we think about so many things that we need to take on faith, take the Bible, for example, or any religion for that matter.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Essentially, the Bible is a collection of stories. And
Mhm.
when we believe in that, that becomes our faith, whether we're talking also about the Quran or whether we're talking about the Torah, whatever religion, there is an element of faith. And I
Mhm.
believe that that applies to the work that we do and what you as a person need to do if you are checking any of this out is take some of this
Mhm.
with a leap of faith. And as Deanna said, ask the question, what if? It's a beautiful piece of advice. Deanna, thank you so much for being on the program. It's been absolutely
So
fantastic
much
having
fun.
a
I've had so much
discussion with
fun.
you. I love the fact that I can say that we didn't script this, we just let it flow,
No.
and it's such a beautiful way of just moving things forward. Deanna, would you like to list for people your contact details and your socials so that people can get in touch with you? And I'll make sure that I pop that also onto the YouTube.
Sure. Sure. So the best way to find out all things me is to go to the Blue Skies Journey webpage. And here's what I will tell you. For those of you that aren't aware, Blue Skies, a part of my background, you'll see the story somewhere. Blue Skies is spelled BLUESKYES. So it's blueskiesjourney.com. All things there are great. You'll find all kinds of information there, including the ability to have a free consultation with me and just kind of see how can I help you. So that's there. Facebook, Blue Skies Journey as well is there. That's my social. And if you want to send me an email, it's info@blueskiesjourney.com. And so
Yeah.
that comes in as well. So any of those ways is great.
Oh, amazing. Well, I'm in the process of redeveloping my website, so I don't have
Ah,
one of those
okay.
at the moment, but you can contact me on Facebook under Dagmar Bryant, under LinkedIn under Dagmar Bryant. I have 2 channels on YouTube. I have a mindset channel, but I also have my Angelic Footprints podcast. For any of you who are interested in angels and want to know a little bit more about angels, we do uh, discussions with people. I have guests on the program. So if you've had an angelic experience, please do get in touch. You can do that via any of my socials or my email. It's dagmarbryant@gmail.com. If you happen to want to have a reading, I can definitely do that for you, giving you some guidance in terms of how to move forward. And I'm also going to be putting out a whole lot of new content as well. So do look out for that as well. Deanna, such a pleasure. And thank you so much for being here today. For all you viewers and listeners, I hope you've got something out of it. Do share a like or a comment. Send us something that you would like us
Yeah.
to do some more work on. Or if you have any questions, please do get in touch. For
Yeah.
today,
If you liked it, and there's stuff you want to ask it, we can come back again and talk to you about whatever it is. That's what we're here for. That's what we do.
sounds amazing. Thank you, Deanna. I wish you all the very best and may your life be filled with hope and inspiration.